Hey guys, it's Lewis here. Welcome to a new video, and today we are doing some IndyCar early season predictions. I know this is kind of a cop-out video, but sorry for not uploading last week. And I promise there will be a more complex video out next week. But I figure I've been giving out opinions recently, so let's do another opinionated video with some early season predictions. Now, first and foremost, starting where I left off, with the last video, Will Power. I think he'll have a surprise year. A surprise year which can be good or a surprise year which can be bad. I think he'll fire out the box extremely quick, or you'll see his age catch up to him, per se, which I would be lying if I didn't say I had a worry about that happening as a Power fan. Moving on to our second prediction, I'm gonna say Ganassi will still be the best team, which is way, you know, it's not really much of a prediction. Who could have thought that? I think the 10 team will still be up there next year, and if you thought that was fairly mild, which it really was, I think Penske will be the third or the fourth best team this year, which is really a regression from what we know Team Penske being. And the reason why I'm really thinking this is we saw Penske at the end of last year get their stuff together after the firings during May, with Power winning at Portland and Newgarden winning at Nashville. Now, despite both of those wins, I don't believe that the team will click and adapt together, all these new personnel. I think it'll take a minute for them to find a rhythm. I think you'll see good performances out of Team Penske. I think you'll see a few wins, but I think they still need to get their mojo on. And here's another hotter take for you. I'm gonna say that Pelot slash the 10 team at Ganassi will have a regression this season. Obviously, we all watched 2025. We saw how good they were that season. Pelot shot out of a cannon, and it didn't really matter what happened after, the second half of the season. We saw Kirkwood try to challenge him early on, but to be honest, Pelot had already done too much in the first few races to really catch him, and had one of the best IndyCar seasons we've seen ever. Well, moving on to the next topic, I'm going to say, trying to keep the spiciness level, I'm going to say an Andretti wins the championship. Now, I'll say most people familiar with IndyCar know that the last time a Penske or Ganassi hasn't won the championship was 2012, and it wasn't Andretti and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Now, saying Andretti's going to win the championship, I'm not talking about Ericsson. Sorry, Ericsson's not good enough. So it'll be Power or it'll be Kirkwood, and hearing that Power says that the team's got the minerals, the team's got the capability of winning a championship. We saw how good Kirkwood was this season. You have Power coming in. He's got a lot of experience. We know Andretti has the best street course package. Who's the best guy on street ovals in IndyCar history? Street ovals. Who's the best guy on street tracks on road courses in IndyCar history? They're both Will Power. We saw that in the last video. So if Power packs a punch this season, just know I think Andretti's going to win the championship. Well, moving on from the higher part of the grid to RLL, I don't think Schumacher will be as competitive as a lot of people believe. I think Mick will eventually do fairly well. I think he'll have success in IndyCar, but I don't think people. I think people are expecting too much of him right now. It's his first season. Yes, he's driven the Formula 2 cars, which I've heard some say is somewhat similar to an IndyCar, which is actually an insult to IndyCar, and I think Penske and co should take it as that. But we'll see. And I just think that Mick will have a good performance. He'll have good performances, I think, especially as you go towards the end of the season. But I don't think he's going to be as good at the start of the season as some will be expecting. Now, moving on to another spicy one, Scott McLaughlin. Scotty Mack, I think he's got to show some progress this season. Scotty's finished second in the championship or third in the championship twice in both 2023 and 2024. But we also have to remember now he's in his sixth season with Team Penske. If you go look through Rogers' history of firing drivers or not re-signing with drivers, usually he doesn't let people have 6 seasons to win an Indy 500 or win an IndyCar championship. So let's hope Scotty Mack at least finishes third again. But I think Scotty's going to have to really wrangle that Penske and get it to places where arguably it shouldn't be, simply because he's in his sixth season. Tim Cindric was one of the biggest backers of Scotty Mack coming to IndyCar. And obviously Tim Cindric's gone. Now, how is Jonathan Duguid going to work it out with them? We don't know. But look, motorsports has seen what happens when your biggest backers left. Just look at Logan Sargent. Yes, he wasn't the best at Williams, but the guy who signed you wasn't even there by the time he showed up. Pretty rough. Now, moving on to something I'd say is fairly mild. I am going to guess that Pato's finally going to get it done this year. I'm going to say Pato wins the Indy 500. Now, the way I see the whole situation is Pato's going to run into a problem. If he doesn't win it soon, he might not ever be meant to win it. And I hate to say that, but I think Earnhardt wasn't meant to win the Daytona 500. I think if that 500 went green to the end, he wouldn't have won it. I fear that Pato is approaching the same realm of possibility. Although you could have said the same with Newgarden until he, won 2 straight. Ericsson, spoke about him earlier. I'm going to say this is his final season at Andretti. You know, if you ask me, Ericsson's been pretty subpar his whole IndyCar career. You think about it, he had Ganassi equipment. I mean, Palou won 4 championships in 5 seasons. Dixon, Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon can have a terrible season, and I'll still say Scott Dixon. He finished 3rd last year. He had Ganassi equipment. He's had Andretti equipment now. I mean, Ganassi equipment's the best on the grid. I'd argue that when he was there, and the lowest it could have ever been is 2nd. And you've been with Andretti. Andretti's usually 3rd best. You have the top 2, and then you have Andretti. But you saw how good Kirkwood did last season. You saw how good Herta was at times last season. That 26 team, sometimes they can't put it together. But look, simply Ericsson was not good enough. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's out. Along the lines of people being out, Siegel. We've seen Tony Kanaan in the media say that Nolan Siegel has to finish in the top 10 to keep his spot. Need I remind you, he finished 22nd in the standings last year. That would be a very big jump. We've seen Rasmussen go from, I believe, 22nd to 13th season over season in an ECR card, but I just think Nolan's not consistent enough. I mean, if you look at this grid, they have Power at a new team who we all expect to perform. You have Kirkwood. You have the 3 Ganassis at this point. I mean, if Simpson can consistently stay up there, which I don't really expect him to do, but he's in a Ganassi. I think it'd be pretty bad if he didn't finish in the top 10. You've got the 3 Penskes. You've got Arrow McLaren, which Arrow McLaren, they might be hot out of the box. We saw last season that at a certain point, Arrow McLaren really became the de facto Chevy leading team while Penske were having their troubles. And I think Tony Kanaan and that group of people will really want to try to bounce off of that, which is, I think that's a part of the reason why we've seen Siegel get this ultimatum. Well, moving on from Nolan Siegel being out of McLaren at the end of the season to happier pastures, I think Louis Foster will have a breakout season this year. You can argue last year he had one with the pull at Road America, but I think we're going to see a little bit of fireworks from Louis Foster this season. Speaking of fireworks, Joseph Newgarden. He's had a rough few seasons, but I think Newgarden will surge. I think he'll be back up there, and I think a lot of the IndyCar drivers, at least the vocal ones, they haven't seen the Newgarden that a lot of us have seen. That 2016 season. I mean, have you ever heard of an ECR car being fourth in the championship? Fourth in the championship, and he went to Penske, and in his inaugural season, he won the title, and he backed it up in 2019. I think we'll see that Newgarden that can perform on any type of track. I think we'll see him start to come back this season, and he might be a force to be reckoned with in the championship. Now, moving on to Dale Coyne Racing, which I haven't really talked about them, but also has DCR talked about themselves? I mean, how many times we're meant to know who's in that second seat, and we still don't know? I mean, rumors on the street's been Grosjean, but say it is Grosjean, I think Dennis Hauger will outperform him. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, really. The main issue with Grosjean is consistency, really. I mean, you saw he had a very good season at DCR, his first time, and it was exciting to see Grosjean perform well. And you saw him go to Andretti. He was capable of winning races. Obviously, he never got it done. I think of the amazing fight he had with Scotty McLaughlin at Barber in 2023. That was a very, very good race, in my opinion, but Grosjean's been capable to get it done, but he wasn't consistent enough. He got to the point where he was crashing a lot. I mean, I assume that's really frustration. You know, you should be up there. You should have won a race already. You should be doing better. You try to push too hard. That could possibly be what happened, and I think he's going to get outperformed by Howard. Now, moving on to Aaron McLaren once again, I think Lundgaard's going to fight for the championship this season. You know, that final season at RL he had was a very good season. And you saw him come to McLaren, and you saw him at times be really the flagship driver in his first year with that team. I mean, I think of Thermal early on in the going. But, you know, Lundgaard was hot out of the box in 2025, and I think he's had a year to adapt to the team. I think we're going to see him potentially perform better than Pato O'Ward this season. Now, back to RL, I think Ray Hall will retire, which this isn't really a crazy prediction, but I think Graham will call it a day, and I think he'll move more into a managerial role eventually. Obviously, as we all know, I mean, it's the Ray Hall team. I mean, Ray Hall's the first name in there. When Bobby steps down, he'll be the one to take the reins. So I think, especially from what I've heard, Graham has been getting more into the business side of things with the team. Obviously, he's got his own business endeavors. So I think Graham will move on after 2026. And I'll leave you with the hot one. It might have a shot of, well, carelessness, maybe hate. Okay, hate's a strong word. Maybe not hate, but you know, I'm gonna say David Malukas won't win his first races this year. That's what I'm gonna say. And yeah, I'm a Power fan, so it doesn't really sound good when it's coming out of my mouth. But I already predicted Penske to be third or fourth, and Malukas has been good at times. I think he needed one more season at Foyt personally before getting up there. And as I've said before, I would have put a guy like VK in the car already. I mean, VK's won a race. When VK was at ECR, that was 4 years ago. I mean, I think Renus, with what he knows now, I think you put Renus in a top car, and he's gonna show he's one of the best guys on the grid. So, look, I think when it comes to it, if there's someone who's gonna be reaping the wins, I think it's gonna be the other two guys at Penske. Well, that's the end of this predictions video. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you didn't like it, tell me more in the comment section below. If you guys have any more ideas, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you later. Bye. Peace.